the Everything But Politics podcast.
Welcome to Everything But Politics. My name is Merrick Leeser, alongside my brother Evan Leeser, and with us today is the president of Bettinardi Golf, Sam Bettinardi. Pleasure to meet you, Sam. Thanks for joining us.
You got it, Merrick. Appreciate you having me on, and you as well, Evan. Thank you.
It's our pleasure. So, Sam, it's May in Chicago. Golf season is officially in full swing. How does that feel?
It feels so good. I know you guys are Chicago guys as well, and growing up here from basically mid-November till now, it seems like mid-April, you got nothing to do. We go to the domes, right? Or we go to play screen golf or simulator golf. So right now, the last weekend, you got 70 and sunny, blue skies. Grass is getting green. The Masters is over. The PGA Championship is this week. So golf is in full effect. It feels awesome.
Very nice. So, you clearly have a vast knowledge in putters. So I have a question for you regarding putter grips. I see the putters behind you. Is there any data behind which size putter grips produce more made putts?
There is a little data that would say, and I think it's more of a field thing personally, Merrick, that a bigger grip is going to quiet the hands. I feel like that is true. Where traditionally, if you look at some of the best putters ever, Jordan Spieth, Tiger Woods, Jack Nicklaus, they all used a very skinny, or I would even call it a pistol grip or a pencil grip. And recently, you've seen a big trend in the PGA Tour with larger grips, the super stroke style grips, jumbo grips, and then even mallet putters. So a lot of that's really been changing the last 5-10 years. But I think when it comes down to equipment and especially the grip, it's personal preference.
And what do you prefer, Sam?
Well, I use an arm lock. So I have a 17-inch grip. I put the putter grip on my forearm, just like Matt Kuchar, rock the shoulders, and I feel like it's worked. It's worked very well for me. I've used it essentially 12 years and love it. I felt like with the short putter, even golfing as a kid, it was never my fault. It was always the putter's fault. So I'd go to dad's work, get a new putter once a month, and then put that in timeout a month later. And I feel like the arm lock, I've really been able to stick with that for an extended period of time, and it works.
So when you were playing at Marquette, what kind of technique were you using back then?
For the putter?
Yeah.
I had probably used at Marquette 12 different putters in the 2 years I played golf there. I had a heel shafted mallet. I had blades. I had other mallets. I had heavy mallets. I had light mallets. Nothing worked. Let's just say that.
That's amazing.
It is. So I'm happy you mentioned the blade versus mallet conversation, because this has really taken really by storm the last 2-3 years. So many of the top players on both PGA and Live have made that transition towards mallet putters. Why do you think that's the case?
I think it's the case because they're easier to use. If you look at a lot of players' bags when it comes down to irons, you're seeing more split sets, cavity backs and muscle backs, or blades, and more forgiving irons across the board. So I think players are putting their egos aside a bit and using what performs versus that really thin top line classic blade. Now that's irons. Now you go into putters. It was predominantly dominated by, answer 1, answer 2 designs, classic blade, RBB1, RBB8 head styles, right? Now, with the advent of mallets, you're able to use more material. For example, our Innovate line of putters is 303 stainless steel, and it's 6061 military-grade aluminum. By using a lighter material, you're able to get more mass. You're able to get a larger head without feeling like a sledgehammer. And when I say MOI, MOI stands for moment of inertia. So moment of inertia is the club's resistance to twisting or turning. So when you have a higher MOI head, the club head, the putter head, is not going to want to twist and turn as much. It's going to want to stay more square throughout the putting stroke. So to me, players have found, hey, why not take the advantage and use a more forgiving putter when it's out there? Case in point, Scotty Scheffler went to a blade to a mallet. It went on the most unbelievable tear the last few years. Rory McIlroy, blade to a mallet, right? Unbelievable tear. So you're seeing it time and time again. And I think that's here to stay.
Wait, and you mentioned like the twisting and turning. I would imagine that with your arm lock, that's not possible because your arm kind of guides you, right? You can't get wristy. It's all in your shoulders.
Exactly. I feel like it takes the small muscles out of my stroke the wrists, the hands, the arms, and puts it all into my shoulders where I rock the shoulders and I feel like the putter head wants to stay on plane and wants to stay square.
I might have to check that out. I'm
Yeah, I
in the
mean,
market for a new putter.
Come
I
on over to Studio B Oakbrook. We're ready
yeah,
for you.
I think
Yeah.
that's in the near future.
definitely, especially I actually got my Bettinardi putter 5 or 6 years ago. Still use the stock grip on it, blade. Man, it's a beautiful neon one, but you got me convinced to maybe go over to the Mallet.
Well, the other big trend right now in golf, which has taken the whole putter market by storm, is zero torque. So if you were to go into a PGA Superstore or Golf Galaxy, those stores are selling about 40% of their putter sales right now are zero torque. So our zero torque line of putters is called the Antidotes.
Hmm.
There's other brands out there that also make zero torque that have taken the putter world by storm. But I feel like what we did that was very unique is the putter shaft goes directly in line with the putter head center of gravity with our SB1, which is a classic blade style putter. And then our SB2, that higher MOI mallet, again, also goes directly in line with the center of gravity. I always liken this technology, if you guys remember the carnival ride, the Gravitron, right?
Yes.
You get inside this big washing machine. You're stuck on the wall with your arms, and you want to take your arms off the wall, and it gets sucked right back. When you grab that antidote or those zero torque putters and you take it back, that putter head wants to stay on plane and it doesn't want to move. So we're seeing a lot of success. Kuchar's using that right now for us. Francesco Molinari's using it. Other players testing it behind the scenes, trying to get into it. It's not for everybody because it is a center shaft look, and it's something you have to get used to. But the performance is out of control. We're seeing a really good rise with the antidote in our sales. Again, tour testing, and then the whole consumer market has really been gravitated towards these zero torque putters.
Have you guys taken advantage of AI at all to look at like data in terms of what's working and what's not working?
We've looked at it a little bit. I would say, are you talking in our engineering department?
I would say engineering and also like if someone came in to get tested, like get fitted for a putter.
When we do fittings for putters, we use a software called Quintech, which is, I would call, the best of the best in terms of putter fitting technology on the market. And I know there are other retailers that use a AI powered tool to kind of guide the fitter.
Gotcha.
But we have a very intimate setting, right? We're a family owned business.
Yep.
I love the human aspect to that, where if you were to come in, Evan, and you were to get fit, you're going to start the process by walking into the store, and our fitter is going to say, hey, tell us your putting tendencies. What do you like to look at? And why don't you pick 4 or 5 putters that look really good to your eye? Then he's going to go bring you in the studio, and he's going to analyze your stroke off those putters that look good to you, because our belief in putting is all about confidence. You have to
Totally.
look down at a putter that feels that you have to look down at a putter and feel confident that you're going to make putts. Second step, if you get fit for that putter that gives you confidence, you're going to make even more putts. So that's where our expert fitters, we have an unbelievable team, Ryan, Nick, Connor, Tom, Dave over at Studio B, that are going to dial you in. And again, throughout that fitting process, they're going to talk to you and again, ask you questions that to me, AI can't do.
So in other words, outside of any data or AI or anything analytically driven, the optics are the most important thing when choosing a putter.
Optics are number one when choosing a putter, but to counter that, it has to fit your stroke. If you, like me personally, I would love to putt with a classic blade. One of the first models that I really redesigned here at Bettinardi Golf, because my father started the business, was the three-step jam. He had made it in like 2010. Colin Morikawa got his first PGA Tour win with the three-step jam, and I had redesigned it to make it more soft. I softened the heel and toe, tweaked how the shaping was, and I'd love to use that putter, A, for sentimental value, and B, the looks. But I know if I gamed it, I'd have 3 or 4 3-putts around. So again, that putter doesn't fit my stroke, but optically it looks best to me. So again, you have to find what looks good and then also works for your stroke. Everybody is a different type of stroke.
What's your tendency on the greens?
My tendency when I take the putter back and then I'm on my follow through, I want to peek. So I'll naturally want to pull it. I'll get ready to look early or I'll push that putt. So I have a tendency of peeking my head And I feel like that arm locks keeps me in the stroke longer.
It's interesting to hear you talk about putting because ideally you want to keep it as simple as possible, but you know so much about it and so much so much of the technical aspect of it. How do you keep it as simple as possible when out there?
That's actually really funny you say that. I was just texting with another golf friend this morning. He sent me a clip from Bob Rotella on Instagram, and he said the most common mistake that amateurs make is they are constantly trying to improve their game and tweaking while on the golf course
Mm.
while they forget to play golf, right? I
Totally.
feel like that's benefited my game the most the last 5, 6 years of just not caring about golf, not caring where the ball goes, just having fun, enjoying being out on the golf course, enjoying hitting good golf shots. Hey, if I missed the green, so what? I'm going to get up and down. Hey, I missed a putt. So what? I hit a good stroke on it. That's where I feel like a lot of amateurs are trying way too hard to improve their game or lower their scores. We got to just go out and play. At the end of the day, we're playing a game, right?
Yes.
Hmm.
Well, given you've played very competitive golf, I would imagine as you've gotten older and the workloads increase, just being out there is a blessing in itself, right? You get less frustrated with the bad shots. You're just happy to be out there on a beautiful May day like today, being on the course, right? It's just a pleasure.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, playing in high school and junior golf and college, it was very competitive, and you're always thinking in the back of your mind, "Hey, where can I take this game?"
Mhm.
There's outside pressures involved, right? And you're balancing a lot. Where now I'm a father of three, running a business. To your point, it
Hmm.
is a blessing to be on the golf course, whether it's with customers or whether it's with my son or whether it's friends. It's great to be out there. So again, there's minimal expectations, and I'm having a great time doing it.
And in high school and college golf, you had a little additional pressure with that last name as well.
There is a little pressure there, whether I like to admit
Yes,
it or not. And like I said, I always blame the putter, not the putty, right? They always say it's the Indian, not the arrow. And again,
correct.
you got to get fit for the right tools. But yeah, I always felt like putting was so bad. I can't even believe the amount of putts I had as a junior golfer. Now it's turned into a strength for me, to be honest.
And
That's
pressure
nice.
is a privilege. There's
Sam,
no
Yeah,
doubt.
there you go.
Bettinardi now has irons. Tell us a little bit about your guys' irons.
Yeah, we introduced our irons in April of last year, so April
Hmm.
2024. When my father founded the business in '98, he named it Bettinardi Golf, not Bettinardi Putters, because he knew we wanted to keep expanding into areas outside of putters. So when
Totally.
I started working for him in 2013, probably 2 years into that, he goes, "Let's make irons." I'm like, "Hey, we haven't even come close to scratching the surface on putters. Let's stay with putters." But every year, every 6 months, we keep having that conversation. So what I felt was really unique for us is there was, where a lot of golf companies and even us and putters are tied to 2-year product cycles, right? The bigger companies have 1-year product cycles on their drivers. So for me, it was like there's no rush to make irons. Let's just make the best possible product we can. And I feel like we did that. We have a great video on YouTube of Fred Couples testing our irons. Hall of Famer, Masters champ, giving us great
Mm.
reviews. We've had other players continue to True Spec Golf, or excuse me, Cool Clubs Golf in Arizona, saying they're the best performing tour style iron in their matrix. So that was really cool. And I feel like we accomplished a really clean, in terms of a design aesthetic, it matches the brand. Very clean, very classy, very simple. We have the honeycomb milling on there. And then when it comes down to the process, they're forged. It's a very premium iron. There's a special ceramic matrix composite material insert inside the head, which I feel like gives each iron its accuracy. I think if you guys were to hit them, you would say they're the straightest iron in golf. So I feel like we developed and engineered a really badass product. And again, it's our first gen iron. It's brand new for us. So we're starting to get more and more interest, and we're starting to get our name out there. It's just the challenge that we're a mid-sized family-owned business, and we're fighting the big boys who have $30 million to spend on their new iron rollout, where ours is a lot more organic and working to get guys on tour. Brant Snedeker just put him in play last week. So
Awesome.
trying to get that action, but it takes time to build a brand.
Very much. Yeah, no doubt about it. So who was the first PGA Tour player to put Bettinardi in the bag?
Yeah, that's a great story, actually. The old saying in golf industry is what wins on Sunday sells on Monday. So
I
first
like
guy
that.
that so my father, who made putters for a lot of other equipment manufacturers and putter makers in the 90s. In 98, decided to break off on his own. And then in 1999, his first PGA Tour event he went to was the Greater Greensboro Open in North Carolina. And if for those of you that are listening that don't know, that the tour players arrive usually on Mondays, and that's their practice round, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and the tournament starts Thursday. So to go, that's when the equipment companies go to try and get players to switch or tweak their clubs during those 3 practice rounds. So my father went to tour. Nobody was interested in his product the first time on tour, obviously, but Wednesday around 4 o'clock, a Swedish player named Jasper Parnevik came up, grabbed a putter, hit 10 putts, made everyone, told my dad, hey, put this in my locker at 33 and a half. And he did. And he ends up winning on Sunday with 99 putts. So
Wow.
that's crazy. The first time he ever went to tour, he got a guy to not only grab one, put it in play, but win. So that was a really cool story for us, getting Jasper right away. We had other early wins from players like Phil Mickelson, Luke Donald, Matt Kuchar, Furyk winning the U.S. Open in 2003, VJ becoming the #1 player in 2004, winning the PGA Championship with our putter. A lot of early wins in our early career at Bettinardi Golf, but we were still a very small family-owned business where the big companies would come in and steal these players and pay them the big bucks to switch. So that was always what we were fighting. But that first story is a great one. We love to tell, and it's crazy how it even happened to this day.
Was that Jim Furyk used the putter at the 2003 U.S. Open?
He did.
So that's a homecoming. That was in Olympia Fields in Chicago. Was that Bettinardi's first major?
That was our first major. And another crazy story on that one is that on Tuesday of that week, his putter was deemed illegal by the USGA. And our tour rep happened to be out there, of course, again on a Tuesday. And Jim had heard that our factory and our studio was only 15 minutes away, right? We're in Tinley Park, Illinois.
Yep.
Olympia Fields is right there. It's right in our backyard. So Jim and his father came over to our studio for about 8 hours. Tuesday is the story I was told, from about noon or 1 o'clock till about 8 or 9 o'clock at night. We got him into a putter. Let me see if I actually have it. I actually have it right here.
Look at that.
This is the gold victory putter, the baby Ben that he used to win the U.S. Open with. So he got put into this model and won the U.S. Open on Sunday. So crazy how that happens. Call it manifest destiny, call it, happenstance, how that worked. His putter deemed illegal, he switches, and we get our first major in our backyard. It was really cool.
That's so special. So how many majors do you have? You have Furyk in 03, Molinari in 2018, and Fitzpatrick in 22? 3?
3, and then VJ in 04.
Okay.
The PGA Championship. And if you count the ladies, you got Patty Tavatanakit winning the A&A Inspiration in 21, and you got Celine Boudier in 23 winning the Evian Masters. So
How special, huh?
yeah, it is special for what we've been able to do. It's those are the pinch yourself, very special moments.
For sure.
Well
And
said.
another thing, so as an entrepreneur and as a businessman, when did you and your dad see a gap in the marketplace for head covers? Because you guys have really taken over that market space and you have the most unique, like the coolest head covers. So when did that become a thing?
Yeah, I feel like he's been making head covers since he started the company, but there was not a lot of consistency behind it, right? Because he was very busy with his other business, which is a machine shop and manufacturing parts for hydraulic manifolds and the Department of Defense, and then also putters, right? So, and he's an engineer and he's a manufacturing guy by trade. So he did little dabbles in the early 2000s and then started up again in 09 to 13, 14. I joined the company in 13, and I always thought there is a giant gap. There is a big opportunity here. And really thought, hey, we should put a little bit more creativity behind what we're doing, up the quality of what we're doing. And that really started in 2015, 16. And I feel like it took off from there. One of the key moments to me was when we started the Hive, right? We used to have 2 distributors of our tour product, our high-end putters, our tour putters, our limited head covers. And it was very confusing to consumers when they would come to our website and, hey, where do I buy this limited product? And hey, you got to go check out BettinardiTourstock.com or Bettinardi Limited, where we pulled that internally. We made a very special room in our studio called The Hive. And then the Hive in person also translated to the Hive online. So we do releases every 2 weeks, small runs, low volume, high mix, but trying to keep up with the demand. We have a great collector base, great consumer base, very avid, fanatical people that love Bettinardi Golf, which I'm so appreciative of. I always say we have the best customers in golf. But to me, we've had a lot of fun with it. We love doing, our collabs like a Monopoly. We precision machine a
Yeah.
Monopoly board. Rawlings, we're able to use the leather from Rawlings gloves and make a head cover out of it with the lace and the patches, all that fun stuff. Recently teamed up with Eagle Rare and Buffalo Trace of
Very
taking
cool.
the barrels of the bourbon and inlaying those into the actual putters.
Wow.
So it's really the fun factor for me to be able to kind of show off our design, our craftsmanship, and what we do differently than any other golf company, where it's very hard for the big boys to be able to do that small run, really boutique, really high crafted, well-made product where that's our specialty because guys, where I'm sitting, I can walk to our factory floor in 20 steps. So it's really cool to see the head covers, the product all made in-house and have my hand involved in all that is something really special and unique to Bettinardi.
Well, and
I
Sam,
love that.
something I think is super cool also, being a huge NFL fan, you guys have NFL putters and head covers. How did you guys get licensed with the NFL?
Yeah, they believe it or not, last March they reached out to us and said that they were trying to really elevate their golf category.
Hmm.
No knocking the NFL here, but when you think about NFL golf gear as it stood, it's okay, right?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was like towels,
It's
head
more
cover. Yeah.
yeah, towels, more plain head covers. I don't
Yeah.
want to call it logo slap, but they wanted somebody to turn the golf category into a more premium space. So they looked to Bettinardi Golf to help do that. So that was March. We negotiated for a while and then came to terms in the fall. And of course, launched the Chicago Bears, our hometown team, first
Yeah.
in November. And it's been awesome, teaming up with different teams and collaborating on design, figuring out a game plan, right? Because there are 32 teams. So how do we best launch this NFL partnership? The Eagles Super Bowl putter we did was
Very cool.
unbelievable. A lot of crazy fans, as we know, in Philadelphia that wanted a piece of that. Teaming up with the Eagles organization, they ordered their own special run of 59 putters for players, for executives.
That's awesome.
And again, nobody's doing that in golf. Really, the premium, really unbelievable one-off putters. We did an NFL draft release. We're doing $2,000 putters that are all one of one. UV printed head covers, high stitch count products. So it's really fun to be in that space. I really wanted to do it because to me, Bettinardi, which is sad, but also music to my ears, is relatively unknown on the coast and in different parts of the country. So I feel like
Mm.
aligning with the biggest sports organization in the world to a different consumer target and people that love golf that can see and feel the Bettinardi brand on some of these new products is a way to get our brand and our message out to a whole new category of consumers.
That's
So
awesome.
multi-year deal, really, really excited. Great to work with the NFL thus far. It's opened a lot of doors and excited to see where this one goes.
When you mentioned the first collaboration being with the Chicago Bears, how has the city of Chicago embraced Bettinardi?
I think awesome. I mean, I feel like our brand
Agreed.
is very well known in Chicago. I think Chicagoans, is a manufacturing hub when you think about Chicago, and I think people in our city appreciate that we make the product in house and in Tinley Park, Illinois. My dad grew up on the South Side in Evergreen Park. I grew up there until I was 10 and moved to Lamont. So I feel like a lot of the people know the Bettinardi lore or story and kind of how we got started and the history in the 90s and where we are today. And I appreciate that, and we lean into that with, the Windy City Wizard, putting the Chicago flag and Chicago stars on a lot of our product. We've done collabs locally with JP Graziano's, Lou Malnati's. We've done World Series putters for the Chicago Cubs in 2016, the White Sox, '05, the Hawks, their first championship. So we love to embrace who we are in Chicago's in our backyard, and it means a lot to us.
Now we just need an annual PJ Tour event in Chicago, and you could
Oh man.
really, right? I mean,
You're
that's
telling me
missing.
about that. That is a real shame we don't have golf in this city. I mean, we're the third biggest city in the whole country.
Hmm.
the depth of golf courses in our city is, I would say, rivals Long Island, New York. I mean, we're right there, Philly, Long Island, Chicago. I put Chicago right up there, top two or three. So we're spoiled to have the type of golf that we have here. Used to go to the Western Open. Like I said, I moved to Lamont when I was 10. Used to ride my bike to that tournament, the Advil Western Open, the Cialis Western Open, the Motorola Western Open, and going to the
Do you say
tournament.
the Cialis Western Open?
Oh, you might be a little too young to
I
remember.
am a little too young for that. That's at Cog Hill, correct?
That's at COG, and the Gemsick family, phenomenal, hosting that for years. But that tournament was packed, and there were so many avid Chicagoans that would go to that event. And having gone to the U.S. Open at Olympia and the Ryder Cup at Medina in 2012, Live Golf recently, it's just we need a home here, and I hope the WGA can find something, or I hope the PGA Tour can do something long term in Chicago. We deserve it, and we need it.
Sam, I'm
Yes.
happy you mentioned all the beautiful golf courses in the Chicagoland area. My question for you was, what are your favorite slash nicest courses you think in the Chicagoland area?
Yeah, I would say my top five in Chicago. I'd go Butler National. I'd go Shore Acres. I would go Olympia North, Chicago Golf. And I got to throw probably Beverly or Skokie in there at 5-6.
Okay,
What
I
are your
got some
favorite-
courses to
My
play.
favorites.
What are your
What's that?
favorites in
That's a-
What are your favorites in Indiana?
Indiana, I haven't played too much in Indiana. I played Sand Creek a little bit.
Sand Creek's cool.
Not Bryn Mawr, Briar Ridge. I like Briar Ridge. I think that's a
Mhm.
fun. Done
Yep.
some qualifiers out there, and then the other one in South Bend, the Warren course, is really cool.
Yes. You've been down to Bloomington or French Lick?
I've not. No.
Yeah, those are great
You would
tracks.
love
The
those.
Pete Dye
Same thing.
course.
We
Yes.
did a collector's event down at French Lick in the Pete Dye course, and our crew had a great time.
That's awesome. Now, have you gotten your kids into golf yet?
I have. My 7-year-old is starting to play. He's done 3 tournaments this spring with
Nice.
U.S. kids, so that's a whole new
Nice.
experience for me. I'm caddying for him on the bag,
Uh,
and
That's so
I think the
awesome.
biggest challenge right now is managing emotions.
Right.
Making sure when he hits a bad shot, he's not crying or he's not, getting upset. But the really cool part to me is he's now showing a lot of interest in the game. He's finished second, third, fourth in some of these tournaments. He's shooting, 45 to 52. There's a kid that's constantly shooting even par, which is
Wow.
unbelievable. But he's always mad he can't beat this kid, Henry. And I'm like, you got to practice. So I'd say the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've seen him in our backyard chipping, asking me to go to the range. And I can't force him to play golf, right? He's got to want it. So it's been really cool to see him show some passion and energy in trying to get better at this great game.
So what is the greatest joy about working in the family business?
Greatest joy. That is a great one. I think it's doing something you love. A lot of people in business say that you got to do something you love. Owning a business and running this business, we have 90 plus employees. It's stressful. I travel, around the world. We have distributors. We have thousands of accounts. We're a brand. I think it's tough. It's a living and breathing thing, right? There's social media comments, there's forum comments, there's
Yeah.
quality, there's all types of things. But I think the greatest joy is knowing I can wake up and go to work and knowing we're making a fantastic product that brings people joy, right? A lot of places I go, people go, "Hey, I got your putter. I just got your wedges. I got your irons. I love your
Yeah.
head covers." And
That's
that
special.
brings me a lot of excitement. And that's special because they get joy off the product that we're creating. And it's got our name on it, which is really special.
How many putters do you guys sell a year?
If I told you, I'd have to kill you.
Yeah.
We
Right.
are, I would say to you, we're growing every year, double-digit growth year over year since I've joined. We're probably 8 or 9% market share in the putter category. Odyssey's number one. You got Cameron up there, Labs balloon to number 3, 4. You got TaylorMade Ping, and then you got Bettinardi. But we're doing what we do. We keep plugging away. I'm not trying to rocket ship growth. I like nice, steady growth. I think it's sustainable, and we're privately owned. We have no investors, so we're doing it all, buying, $400,000 machines on our own, new buildings, a
Love it.
lot of capital investment, new studios. So we don't need to go to the moon, but we want to have nice, steady, organic growth and have this thing around hopefully one day for my kids.
That's
And
amazing.
and where do you see Bettinardi in 10 years from now?
10 years from now, 10 years from now, I hope people around the world have more brand recognition for the Bettinardi brand, and I hope they attribute that name and it's synonymous with quality and the best of the best. If that's where we are in 10 years, I think we did something right. I tell all of our staff here, our team members that, as long as we have a quality, we'll be in business forever.
Yes.
It's so important for me. There's over 20 sets of hands that touch the product before it goes to the end consumer, right? So if I'm going to hold a raw putter for you, right here, this starts as a block of steel so that the
Yeah.
operator on the saw has to cut it to a square. And then they load it to the machine. The machinist is machining from a block of metal. It goes to QC, it goes to polishing, it goes to paint, it goes to assembly, it goes to QC again, cutting, gripping, all that stuff. There's a lot of people that are involved. And if every step along the way, someone's checking and doing their job, we're going to have the best quality in golf.
Yeah, and I love how you mentioned quality. While learning more about Bettinardi and the brand, I love the fact that everything is American made, and that's such a staple in your business.
Thank you. No, it's important. And I remember my dad one day told me he was talking or negotiations with a big company back in the early 2000s about potentially acquiring them. And they were playing golf, and on the golf course, he said, the other company said to my father, "Hey, what are you going to tell all your employees, when we do this deal and you go home?" He goes, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, we're going to make everything in China. You have to fire all of them." And he kind of thought to himself, what am I getting myself into? Went home, really reflected on it and went back to this company and said, I can't do that. I can't get rid of my team. We have American craftsmen. We're employing people. They have great jobs. They're providing for their families. So that was not something he was interested in. And that story from 02, 03 really stuck with me today about what that means to have a great team of people around us that work really hard, that we can employ, and that want to see the best for the Bettinardi brand. And, we take care of them. Hopefully they take care of us, and they want to see our product succeed, and they want to see it around the globe, and they like the nice PR and the tour wins and all that stuff. But very important to me to make it in-house and have a great team around us that are so passionate about our product.
I love
That's
that.
amazing and rare in 2025. So kudos to you and the entire team.
Now, Sam,
Thank you.
before we let you go, we have a couple rapid fire questions we want to ask you.
Let's go.
Let's go. Favorite golf course of all time?
Pine Valley,
Ooh, nice.
Your lowest round ever?
64.
Where at?
That's pretty good.
That was at Jackson Park in Chicago.
Awesome. Any hole-in-ones?
3.
3. What are the yardages?
I was 9 for the first one, 136 yards at the Meadows in Blue Island, 6-iron. Second one was 153 yards at Butler National. And the third one was 183 yards at Crystal Tree. And I won a car on that shot.
Oh, that's amazing.
Wow.
That was my
Wow.
last hole one.
Favorite meal at the halfway house?
Hot dog.
Classic.
Yep, got to. And last but not least, who wins the PGA Championship?
Scheffler.
I
like that.
agree. We were talking about this yesterday. The only problem with taking someone like Scheffler is the odds are so bad. It's almost like
Oh, you don't need to be gambling on sports. Come on.
Yeah.
How about Matt Fitzpatrick, dark horse, Bettinardi
Yeah.
staffer.
and his game, he's trending. He struggled earlier this year, but he's getting back into the right direction.
He's getting it back going. Scheffler's so good. He just dominated a couple weeks ago. And I feel like his mentality, he doesn't want to see other guys win majors. He's trying to come back. Spieth might be a nice dark horse. Rory won the Grand Slam. He's ready to win the Grand Slam with the PGA. But gotta go all in on Matt Fitzpatrick, Team Bettinardi.
Yep.
And given how I'm sure you saw it's been pouring there in Charlotte, North Carolina, it's going to be a bomber's paradise. You're going to have to hit the ball far this week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Matt
so-
Fitz is long now. I remember seeing him a year ago talking about his distance. He goes, "Sam, what are you talking about? I'm a long hitter." So he put the time in, and he's during that US Open he won, he was hitting some shots longer than Rory. So kudos to him.
Yeah. Sam, anyone listening that wants to find you, wants to get involved with Bettinardi, improve their short game, where's the best place to go?
Yeah, check us out, bettinardi.com. You'll find our website, a slew of products, putters, wedges, irons, covers, accessories. You can also book a fitting at Studio B Oakbrook on there if you're local to the Chicagoland area. We have an amazing account base, 1,000+ accounts around the country with our dealer map. Follow us on social, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, all that stuff. So appreciate you guys having me on, and everyone listening. Thanks for your interest in Team Bettinardi.
Absolutely. It's our pleasure. Thanks for spending time with us, and we'll do it again in the near future. So thank you very much.
Thanks,
everyone.
fellas.